I have a really bad feeling about this.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time here. If this is the first time here and you like this video, please have a look around the channel and please subscribe and comment on the videos because it's really nice to have a little chat with people. And this is a video that could be a little bit risky because it feels like it's a little bit against the grain. But this is comes off the back of lots of videos I've been watching lately. And when I say lately, in the last sort of year or so, there's been this ongoing debate on BookTube about ebooks, paperbacks, hardbacks, what kind of format do you like? And obviously, quite rightly, most people say it doesn't really matter what format you're using. If you're reading, that's cool. I mean, obviously, people who don't read don't have to read. So, again, that's cool as well. But clearly, BookTube is full of book lovers and people who like reading. So they are clearly very pleased when someone else reads. There's something to connect to and maybe something they can share their interests with. And maybe they've got common interests in what they read. So that's all good. And the format debate is usually... I'm just ignoring audio books for a minute because that's a different kind of debate. But I want to talk to you about how I'm feeling about the difference between physical books and electronic books. Because I've never really articulated on a video before, and in like live streams and maybe on tags and things like that, I've said something like, oh, well, I read files and electronic versions of things and emails and stuff at work. I don't really want to do that with my pleasure reading a book. I'd rather read a physical thing for that reason, which is true, but actually it goes deeper than that. For me, it goes deeper than that. So Ollie from Criminal did touch on this because he said he made a very quick passing comment once on one of his videos over the last couple of months about how a book is a physical thing and it's a thing that you have a relationship with. And I absolutely... that really spoke to me, that thing that he said. And I think that's been ruminating in my head. But also bouncing off something that Troy Tradup was talking about, because he said he did a video about physical media and specifically about films and comparing DVDs with streaming services. And that's another massive can of worms, which I will talk about possibly in another video, because it relates also to the music industry, and the music industry and the film industry are both being affected by the change in the consumers' habits and all about streaming and how it's changed how people are paid and ultimately not paid, and it does put the industry at risk a lot. So that's a whole other subject to talk about, and that whole thing about, you know, if you're getting hundreds of thousands of songs for £5 a month, someone isn't getting paid. So, you know, if you feel quite passionately about those industries, then you may want to give those people a chance to become professional. So, you know, this brave new world that we talk about, where everything is free and we've devalued everything, could result in everybody being part-time artists and not being professional artists because nobody's getting paid. So that's another subject I want to talk about. It's another conversation, but it's something I do feel very strongly about, and I think it's if you know the situation, I think it's hard to contradict that. But the thing about ebooks versus real books, physical books, is of kind of a personal thing. This is not a factual thing, it's an opinion, but I think it's quite an important one that people may relate to. I don't know. It could be that people just go, no, I don't know what you're talking about, or they go, I get what you're talking about, but I don't care. And I will just start with a caveat that I do absolutely get that electronic books is better for the environment, without a doubt. It's definitely better for the environment. So if you're going to look at it from an ethical point of view, which is fair enough, you know, pulping paper into book form is not necessarily good for the environment, whereas an electronic book doesn't doesn't. It's not perfect for the environment, but certainly better than paper. Absolutely makes sense. But it does change. If I was to just go to ebooks and wouldn't read physical books anymore, it would change my relationship to books and to reading and to authors, and I'd lose something. And what I would lose, I'm going to try and illustrate with a number of books. I've got a bunch of books here that I have had. Some of them I've had a long relationship with, some I've had a short relationship with, and some my relationship with that book is just starting. And I want to just say, before I get into the actual specific books, I do not have the same relationship with a file, an actual electronic file. The object that you have the relationship with is the object you're reading the file on. So I don't have an e-reader, but I have tried to read things like PDFs and that on my iPad, which I film with, so I can't show you my iPad. But the iPad is an iPad, and I've had a relationship with my iPad, usually video related, because I film videos on it and post it up, and I film my students on it for evidence and to send to them so they can write rehearsal diaries and stuff. So the iPad, I have got a very specific relationship with the iPad that encompasses lots of different things, and that would include reading PDFs. And in a small way, because I haven't done it a lot, it would include reading PDFs of short stories and books and novels. But it's a relationship with the iPad, and what is contained in it is not the object, it's something that's contained inside it. So I really honestly think it's a massive distinction between the relationship with the iPad and relationships with individual books. Okay? And I'm not sure if this is going to make sense to some people, but these books, the shape, the size, whether or not I could fit it in my pocket, what it felt like to hold it when I was reading it, and how long I've had it, when I found it, what the feeling was when I saw it, when the first time I saw it, how it persuaded me that I wanted it, those kind of things is completely related to the physical attributes of the book itself, and not a file on an iPad. Okay, and I really hope this is articulate, because I think it's a really important distinction between electronic books and paperbacks, and it's why I couldn't be passionate about ebooks, but I absolutely get why it's more convenient. Absolutely get why it's more convenient, and certainly more ethical. I do get it, but there's a relationship with paperback books that you don't get with your iPad. So, just to start off with, the one I'm reading at the moment, and depending on when I post this, I might have already said I've read it, and I might have said something about the book, but this is what I'm reading at the moment, Broken Homes, which is the 4th Rivers of London book. And so far, my relationship with this book was I bought all of the Rivers of London books very quickly in succession. Once I read the first one, I enjoyed the first one so much, I bought the others very quickly. And this has sat around in my house for quite a while, and because of the Occult Detective October event, I've got this out to read it, and I've picked this up about 15 times over the last week, and sometimes I've picked it up, fallen asleep and not read it, sometimes I've read loads of it, and I have this ongoing relationship with this book, with this individual book. And if there was someone else that had that book, and they were sitting opposite me and they were holding their copy of the book, that is not the book I've got the relationship with. I've got the relationship with this book, and I've kept picking it up and I'm reading it, and this is my copy of this book, and this is what I've got this relationship. I really hope this is really clear what I'm saying. Once I've read it, I think, because I'm about halfway through, and I think next week I'm going to be find it easier to read because I've got a week off. It's probably going to be more like another 4 or 5 sittings. So about 20 times, I reckon, just a guess, I would have picked this up, and it would have been a companion, social companion for me, about 20 times over a course of about 10 days, right? I mean, that's a very long time to read a small book, but it's just been one of those weeks where I've got tired a lot. So that's this book. That's this individual book, right? Now, there's 3 examples here of books that have got a lot of sentimental value because of having them for a long time, But it goes beyond just sentimental value, because somebody just wrote off what somebody else said in a video once, just saying it was just nostalgia. It's not about nostalgia. That's a very superficial way of looking at this. This is not nostalgia. This is a genuine relationship, a long-term relationship. So this is a Star Trek photo novel, and photo novels were a little bit of a peculiar little cute thing, where it was the episode that was redone like a comic book, but with photos from the episode, right? And I've got 3 of them, and I think there was about 5 done. I think I'm not absolutely sure how many, but I really like this. It means a lot to me having it, because it meant something at the time, and there's something really cool about the physical experience of going through the pages, skimming through the pages really quickly, finding something like that really quickly, and just the physical nature of flicking through the books of this book and seeing these photographs, and knowing that this is still quite good condition. There's a little bit of a bit of damage there, but ultimately it's quite good condition, and I try and keep my books in really good condition so that I maintain that relationship. That's why I like the book staying in good condition. I had a Star Trek book that I read for Book Trek this year, which was first in a trilogy, and I really liked the book, and I've got the other 2 in the trilogy as well, and it was stuck underneath some stuff, and it got bent loads, and I've managed to refigure it so it's not bent anymore, and it's nice because it maintains that status when it's in good condition, I think. And if it got ruined, I'd just think, I'm going to get another one. And that means it's a different book. It's a different book. Even though the contents are the same, it's a different book. So I like the fact this is the same book that I've had for many, many years. And it's not nostalgia, because it's just the fact that it's this book I've had this relationship. It's not nostalgia, because if I pick this up now, I would enjoy it now. It's not. I wouldn't enjoy it because I used to enjoy it. I'd enjoy it because I still like aspects of this book. I like the fact it's an episode turned into photographs. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that I like it just because I used to like it. That's not what I'm getting at. So that's pretty cool. And this is a very important book to me as far as the contents of the book goes. And this is the book this is the version of the book I've read the most. So it feels like the book. If I have got other copies of this, I've got the SF Master. I've got actually 2 copies of the SF Masterworks version of this. And it feels different. It's slightly bigger. It doesn't flip the pages in the same way. It's got a different feel to it. The font's different. It's a different book, but the contents are the same. The text is the same, but it's a different book. So this is the book that I have had the relationship with in regards to this particular story. Yeah. I really hope this is clear. Again, this is again not nostalgia, because this relates to the fact that when I was really into Babylon 5, I was buying all sorts of books that are about Babylon 5, and I did get rid of some of them because I do get rid of books, got too many, but I've kept all of this because it was such an unusual thing to come out when Straczynski decided to bring out a guide to script writing, and contained in it is The Coming of Shadows, the actual script for that. Where are we? Which is, that's right at the end of the book. So one of his stories, one of the episodes that he wrote, is in there. And it was such an interesting and unusual thing to come out. You can probably get this on an ebook, but I value this as me getting this in the early 90s. And again, treating it with respect and trying to make sure it's a really sort of well-conditioned thing. It's got some age from being in the loft for years and stuff like that. But this is a physical thing that I think is a really nice, unusual, and interesting thing that was released based around the popularity of Babylon 5. Right. So I'm going to move on to. This was found in the wild, and as a Doctor Who fan, I thought, oh my God, Tom Baker's written a book. And it's got a really nice feel to it. It's a nice hardback. It was, what was it? It was £3.50, which is not that much, so I didn't spend loads of money on it. It's quite old, but it's still really good condition. I didn't really like it that much, but I found it really interesting, and I like the illustrations in it. So I thought the whole process of having it, reading it, thinking about it, talking about it on my channel was a really interesting experience. But I really honestly don't think it would have been an interesting experience for me to stumble on it in a search on an ebook and then or know about it, found out about it somewhere, and then found the ebook and then just read it as an ebook. This is such a more interesting experience that is a memorable, valuable experience for me because of finding it on the shelves, getting it, not reading it straight away, reading it like a couple of weeks after, and then having the experience of flicking through the pages as I'm reading it. A physical book that I am turning the pages as I read, and the feeling of holding it in a particular way because it's a hardback of a particular weight and a particular size. And if it was a huge book that was really heavy, I would hold it in a different way. Genuinely, I do think that sort of thing matters. The way that you hold the book is part of the relationship with the book. So, again, Children of Time, Adrian Tchaikovsky, one of my favourite books, but also very vivid memory. And honestly, I do think it matters. And I have very vivid memory of opening the book many times. It took me a while to read it. And also the physical nature of staying with the book and turning the pages through a sort of a 4-hour session because you can't put it down. And you're thinking how many pages till the end, and you sort of go through. I'll go through another chapter. There's only a couple of pages left, and then you feel like, okay, maybe I'll stop now. How many pages till the end? I'll just flick through. Oh, there's a couple of pages. I'll go to the next chapter. Get to the end of this chapter. All that is contained in the physical nature of the book, and because you're physically flipping the page to see when the end of the chapter is. So it's a genuine relationship, and it's not that common. It could be a Stephen King book, but it's not that common for me to read a book of this size. So it really did matter that I had this relationship with this book. And I say this book as in this physical book. Again, the SF Masterwork series is a really nice thing that you spot it on the shelves and you think, oh, I'm curious about this. And I've got quite a lot of these. And again, I don't think an ebook version of a series like this has the same impact when you see that and you pick it up and you're curious because it's part of something that's been celebrated and been put into this series. And those things where the same editions are collected together is also much more powerful and have much more impact as a series of physical books, I think. Again, this was something I found on the shelf and I picked it up because I was like, oh, what's this about? And then had a look at the back and bought it and absolutely love it. And I talk about it a fair bit on the channel because I love it so much. But again, I remember picking up the book thinking, well, what's this going to be like? And being relatively cynical because I didn't know the author, and then absolutely loving it. And I think I raced through the book in about a day. And just again, I've got the book in front of me. I've got this social companion for a day and a bit, day and a half, 2 days, something like that it was. And it's my thing that I'm doing, and it's not. You can't say that about if I started reading stuff on my iPad. I've got my iPad with me all the time. I don't never stop using it. So that doesn't you don't divorce that from reading a book. Whereas this is a separate object. It's a thing that is completely contained in that book. I don't use that for anything else. I just read it to read the story. This was sent to me by a friend. He's literally with a note saying, I think you'll like this. I'll always be grateful for that because that was a lovely thing to do. And he was right. I loved it. It's one of my favourite books. But he just sent it to me saying, I think you'll like this. And you could send someone an ebook and go, I think you'll like this. But there's no way it's going to have the same impact as opening a parcel that arrives on your door. You're not expecting it. You notice who it's from. You go, oh, wow, I've got a parcel from that person, a friend of mine. I didn't know he was going to send me something, and he sent me this. And, that is just amazing. It's just, it's one of, it's a really nice, I was just about to say it's one of the nicest things that anyone's done. And it's definitely in the list of nice things that's ever been done for me. And it just wouldn't be in that list if it was an ebook that's been sent. It's just not the same. It really isn't the same at all. This is the two of my 4 books I've got by Hiromi Kawakami, and I really like what she does. But again, I was I was drawn by these quite striking covers and the design. I don't know if you get drawn by a cover on an ebook, but it's on the shelf in a bookshop, and you're like, oh, what's this? And Strange River in Tokyo was transforming from my curiosity about translated works, because translated works for me had this sort of reputation of being really heavy and, about sorrow and death, and she's got a light touch, and it's not really about that. And actually, to be fair, there's quite a lot of translated fiction now that's quite cozy, but she's such an interesting author, I think, and I was drawn to it by what they look like on the shelves. Again, I probably would have heard about this book, haven't started this yet. This is definitely on my immediate TBR. I'm going to read this soon, but it's such a striking cover, and I saw it all over the place in the shops on these big kind of displays, like, mountains of this book saying, have a look at this, it's a new book. And I think it's going to be something I'm going to really like. And it's a physical hardback copy. I'm going to read it. It's a particular weight, so that'll be part of my experience when I do read it. It smells different. We could talk about the smell, but I don't think that's a bit of a distraction, because obviously the important thing is, to me, it's what it feels like to flick through the pages, what it feels like to hold it, and what it feels like to have a specific book that's a different shape and size and feel and font and all sorts of things to whatever it is you might standardize on your favorite kind of font and experience for your e-reader. And then you get things like this. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about, because it's quite a long video and I may be overdoing the point. But this is a very treasured book of mine, The Complete Cartoons of the New Yorker. This is probably out of date now, let's face it, because the New Yorker carried on well after this. But this does contain 70,363 cartoons from the New Yorker. Because I collect cartoonist stuff, this is really important. And the reason why it's got that many on there is because there is... Where is it? There is a DVD with it, which has got all of those cartoons on it. But in the meantime, it's also got tons of other cartoons that are printed in there, as well as biographical stuff about the cartoonists and about the magazine as a whole. And it's one of my favourite books. It's huge. It sits on a particular shelf that can house this size, and I see it all the time when I'm in my bedroom. I can see it there, and I never want it out of my sight. And a lot of my favourite books and and the main ones in my cartoons collection are in my sight when I go into my bedroom, and it's an ongoing relationship. This is always there. I get reminded about it all the time, and it's because it's a physical book that's in front of me and I can see it. Yeah, which is why I think bookshelves and bookcases are really interesting and really cool, because I do think you do develop and reinforce and reaffirm that relationship all the time with that book, which you don't do with an electronic book. So electronic books, you can praise them all you like about the functionality and the function of a book, but I think books are deeper than that. Your relationship with books are deeper than that. So that's my take on it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of all that. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Paint me a picture of what it's like to